Hey, Pat McCardle back for another episode of Shop Talk with my buddy Wayne Connolly from Rockford Fosgate, where today we're going to talk about the history of Polaris and Rockford and how we got to where we are today. Stay tuned. All right, so Wayne, we've been working together for a number of years now, but I think the history of Rockford Fosgate and Polaris actually kind of comes before RZR, right?
Yeah, it does. I think actually, at least we started to kind of take some notice in 2014. Rockford was looking for purpose-built products. We were getting into that, hey, we're not going to take an automotive product and try and make it into a marine or a side-by-side product. So in 2014, we noticed Polaris was taking a consumer-focused approach, bringing the aftermarket parts to the vehicle, and that's when we really started to take notice, and I think we started having conversations.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, if I think back to some of the, the earlier times we had, right, Polaris maybe didn't know as much about audio or tuning, right, but we did know a lot about the off-road space and kind of how to test and how to validate really for that extreme environment we live in. So I think we've kind of had some back and forth, right?
Yeah, I think it is a true partnership. I think that the aftermarket world had a lot to learn from the OEM world in terms of testing, validation, and certification. So it's been a really great partnership.
Yeah, and I think if you look at how the chassis platforms have evolved over the years, right? We started back kind of on that RZR XP 1000, right? Moved on to like the Pro XP, the Pro R, and now, we've got some of the newer models with this Pro family. Across the Pro XP, the Pro S, the Pro R, but we've also got, the new RZR XP, right? And it seems like each time a new generation has come out, like we've been able to partner with you guys to bring better and better solutions, right?
Yeah, it's the partnership, and it's involving us earlier, which I think you can see in this new RZR, enclosures, speakers, volumes being optimized. What you're seeing is two partners coming together at a very early stage with a common goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think back to some of the earlier years, right, when we were developing Ride Command and working with you guys, on the amps and speaker side, and kind of getting all the different teams to mesh and pair together. There were some challenges early on, right?
Yeah, there was some challenges. There wasn't I'll call it the cohesion and the flow that there is now. There was, well, Polaris is very big, so you have different teams working on different parts of the vehicle. So it takes us a while to kind of get integrated with all the different facets you have here.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, sometimes we'd come across maybe a little edge case or, an issue that would show up. And, we might hear it through the speakers, but it wasn't always necessarily because of an audio-related issue, right?
That's correct. I mean, there's so much noise in the vehicle environment, whether you're looking at from a stator to a voltage regulator, you're looking at coils, you're looking at injectors. There's so much electrically happening now, and all that affects the audio system, or at least can cause noise in the audio system.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a good story is thinking back to the first year we offered dynamics on a RZR. We actually didn't offer factory audio because there's a 4 kilohertz carrier frequency that you literally could hear the shocks through the speakers. So, you guys actually came in and helped us identify where that was coming from. We changed some ground strategies around and we're able to knock that out.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the partnership honestly comes, when we can lean on your vehicle and application side, and you can lean on our audio knowledge and product development. It's a great partnership.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, over time, right, we've upgraded charging systems, gone to dual stators, dual regulators, big alternator now on Pro R. So there's been a lot of things as this, appetite for more and more power, louder and louder sound, right, has both driven us to how do we make more efficient sound, but also how do we make kind of louder sound, right?
Yeah, that's true. A lot of these vehicles don't have a stator in them, so you have current limitations, you have vehicle limitations. So as the audio systems grow, as the space grows and the category expands, you're seeing the vehicle and the audio system grow together to match. So
yeah, so when you think about some of like the standard test conditions that are put through, if you go back, I'm going to say maybe 20 years in the history of Rockford Fosgate.
Yep.
What were you guys doing to validate an aftermarket solution versus what are you doing today now to qualify the OEM solution?
So I think on the product side of things, or like the power handling, we were really dialed in. We use a device called Klippel. We were actually the first manufacturer to develop the Klippel certification with the company Klippel that does the speaker measurements. So we came up with like a standardized way that not only looks at how you engineer it, but it looks at how you power test it, and then it also lets you control the quality on the line through a quality control machine. Where I think we interacted really well with some of the environmental testing, so like the ASTM testing for UV, salt fog spray. You guys really kind of honed in on test standards that were required in order for the vehicle to pass or to live the life in the environment you intend to put it in. So I think it was a blend of those two things together is what got us to the point where we're at today.
Nice. So Wayne, I think, one of the things I've been impressed with over the years is not only, the quality of sound that we're getting from you guys, but also, the improvements over time, right? So can you maybe kind of walk us through some of the history of, where we started to where we are today?
Yeah, and Polaris as a brand had to kind of get a feel for whether the customer wanted audio, which we have seen that the Polaris customer definitely does. But we started off with being the first side-by-side and audio partner to deliver OEM audio to their customers. And when we started that off, it was with a smaller system. We have ride command and non-ride command options, amplified and non-amplified. And that has progressed today into 16 speakers going into the ultimate package now with a subwoofer on top of it and close to 800 watts. So it's gotten really loud, and it's really cool to see because the customers have gravitated to it. They really want that full content sound, which we refer to as the Rockford sound, or is achieved usually by 4 speakers and a subwoofer.
Yeah, and I think, what a lot of people maybe don't understand is, maybe growing up you had like, little EQ settings on an amp or, something that you could dial in, right? But the way that we've worked with you guys, it's kind of a true to sound or true to life sound, right? That tries to get achieved. And how do you kind of shape that when you think about how you go through the testing and development and, the golden ear, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, we ultimately have a sonic signature that we're trying to achieve. It's for us, it's almost as much bass as you can, rolling into a nice smooth mid-range, and then a little bit more at the top end, overcome the environment and the noise obstacles for these applications. So it all starts with the speaker, to be honest, and the speaker development. Moving from the speaker into the amplifier, but the real magic happens between the integration of ride command and our product. So in these vehicles, the DSP is actually in ride command. So we help with a little bit with the ride command development, but not only that, we tune all the vehicles. So after we go and see the vehicle in clay and we get a kind of a feel for where speakers are going to go from the ID firm, we kind of work towards achieving the optimal volume for each one. Then once we get it all in place, we use a 6 mic array, kind of represents different listening levels or different heights of people. And we go and we individually tune each speaker, trying to get the overall sonic signature. We also adjust the time delay. All the speakers are different distances to you. So Ride Command in the tuning app lets us go in and adjust to make the sound all hit your ear at the same time. So it's like a symmetrical time alignment that we use. And that aligns the phase of all the speakers. What that ends up being is really clear sound, less distortion, and overall, when you just want to crank it, you can just turn the knob.
Right. And I think, I've heard you talk in the past about like where you aim that sound, right? It's not just about getting the driver to have like the best sound, right? It's about making it so that everybody in the cockpit gets really good sound quality, right?
That's correct. There's 4 people in the cockpit, so that symmetrical time alignment really makes it better for everyone in the vehicle, not prioritizing one person or spot over the other.
Yeah, and I think, the other thing you mentioned, right, is some of that tuning software that you guys in Polaris both have access to, right? Which, for the people at home, that's like an engineering grade tuning tool, right? It's not something that like any of us could just pick up and learn in a day.
No. Actually, the gentleman who does the tuning, his name's Joe. He's extremely talented, has masters in acoustics, much smarter than I am even, and a better sonic ear. And it takes that person years in order to just learn the craft of what they're using on the screen, and then it takes a whole other time period to actually take what's on the screen and turn it into acoustically what you can hear. And
yeah, and I think maybe the good analogy to give people is when you think about guys that tune engines, right, where there's thousands of variables and you got different fault modes you got to work out. like tuning audio is really kind of at the level of tuning engines, right? Where you've got hundreds, if not thousands of variables that you can, tweak and move. And if they're not all working in harmony, the sound isn't going to be great.
You're absolutely correct. There's an order to which you do it. There is calculated steps that need to be taken place in order to get the final results that we're trying to achieve. But it's not like a 7-band EQ in a radio where you have a couple frequencies you tune. You'll see the whole frequency spectrum across, and then there's also filters, which are slopes and different things that affect the acoustic response. So a lot goes into it.
Yeah, and I think one of the coolest ones that I've gotten to experience, is walking back in the back Polaris shop. We've actually got a room that can absorb all sound, right? It's an anechoic chamber. And you walk in, and when the door closes, I mean, it is an eerie feeling, right? Because there is no sound. And what's really nice about that, right, is we can also set up microphone arrays to be able to pinpoint audio sources on the vehicle, right? So understand what's coming from the engine, what's coming from the clutches, maybe a cooling fan, right? All these different ways that sound is produced, not all of them related to audio. But when we can kind of selectively understand those, we can actually tune the audio to work better with each vehicle, right?
Absolutely. Every vehicle is a little bit different. The equipment we choose for it is a little bit different, and it's all meant to be consumer focused at the end.
Yeah, so I think when you talk about, how you tune that ride command, there's not just like one RZR tune, right?
No.
Like each different chassis platform basically gets an individual tune for that vehicle.
Absolutely. Every trim level, every model all has the vehicle looked at, a tune put in, and then Ride Command and the ECU and the electronics is actually smart enough to look at the vehicle identification number and know which
one to
tune
load
to pull up and load in when it starts up.
Yeah, nice. Well, Wayne, I think it's been awesome having you in the shop today, chatting a little bit about history, a little bit about how Rockford and Polaris got going, kind of where we are today. Looking forward to what you guys, are developing in the future. I'm sure there's going to be more fun stuff coming down the way.
Certainly is.
But that's it for this episode of Shop Talk. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you want to see next time.